Yeah, so that's halfway. That's the first 5. So there's 5 more. So after every one of them, I go, that one. And then the next person does it. And I go, oh, no, that one. So has anybody got a favourite? Do you want to? Anybody? Yes, what's your favourite? Number 5 was it Ingrid, who was just on? I thought she was pretty awesome too. I thought she was very awesome, fantastic. Anybody else got you're allowed to shout out anything you want. Oh, did she have the same shirt on as you have? What's your name? Alex Johnson, you're a very nice man. What's your name? Glenn Carey, you're both lovely people. Nice to meet you. Yay. And does she have the guy sitting behind you's got a very similar shirt on to you as well. Yeah, see? Yeah. I know, much more awesome on you. Yeah, I know, yeah. He's all right, but you know, you've got a certain something, so that's good. How are our judges? All good? All good. Don't go away, I like you. Okay. Our next presenter is Sripriya Somasekhar, and her thesis is Navigating Safety in the Context of Immigration, Indian Women Experiencing Domestic Violence in New Zealand Aotearoa. Indian migrants bring their cultural values with them but leave their support systems behind. This can make them vulnerable, particularly when they're women experiencing domestic violence in our country. Would you please give a very warm welcome to Sripriya Somasekhar.
I was raised in a traditional patriarchal South Indian family. My mom obediently did what her in-laws and husband told her to do. The women in my family were only allowed to eat after the men had finished eating. I would often wonder why women are treated this way in a country that worships goddesses. As a teenager, I started to experience this oppression directly. I was only allowed to wear certain kinds of clothes. Boys were not allowed to phone me. I started to notice how men viewed women as objects for their pleasure and for their service. This is clearly reflected in violence against women. Every 29 minutes, a woman in India is raped. Domestic violence is rampant, and dowry-related murders widespread. Worst of all, these injustices are tolerated. And if I try to question them, I was told to keep mum. Keeping quiet became a way of life for me, as it has for millions of other Indian women. I got a new perspective on these issues when I moved to New Zealand nearly 3 years ago. I noticed a different level of openness and communication between couples here. New Zealand women have freedoms that most Indian women can only dream of. And yet it was clear that many Indian migrant women are being treated in much so the same way that they had been treated back home. In particular, they are beaten and abused by their husbands. Why is this? As a migrant who has experienced both cultures, I felt I was well placed to address these issues and related questions. What are the challenges that Indian women experience in the face of migration that makes them more vulnerable to domestic violence? As victims in the host country, do these women react to violence the same way their sisters do back in India? What about the Indian migrant community? Does it help these women, or does it abandon them? The purpose of my research is to increase awareness of cultural perspectives that foster domestic violence and ones that are protective against it. I want my research to contribute towards policy changes with regards to Indian immigrant women and domestic violence. It will provide a better, in-depth understanding of numerous cultural and immigration-related issues. It will provide valuable insights into the dynamics of the Indian immigrant community. It will help in the development of culturally appropriate services. I want Indian women to not only be able to eat with the menfolk, but to be respected, to be free of violence, and to be able to practice their full human rights.
See, That's why I like these nights, because it's always a surprise. You get really moved by things, or you get really wound up and excited about things, which is great.
The University of Waikato, where the world is going.